Hello, you there. Very good evening. Thursday, the 26th of June 2014. You are joining in with Prime TV News at 6:30 p.m. I'm Arshad Najudeen. First up, let's take a very quick look at your headlines for today. The Maldivian president emphasizes that they do not approve undue external pressure over countries, and this was why the Maldives consistently stood for Sri Lanka at international fora. Sri Lanka and the Maldives ink several bilateral agreements, further consolidating friendly ties. Light is shed on UMP MP Mangala Samaravira's Tiger loyalist conspiracy for the betrayal of heroic soldiers who saved the country. The Brotherhood program of creating religious harmony and coexistence, placing trust in the hearts, gets off the ground from Magampura. And in headlines overseas, a study reveals that accidental shooting have taken away more lives in the United States. And now for news in detail. First news here at home. Our two countries have been very good neighbors for a long time. We do not approve undue external pressure over countries. That is why the Maldives consistently stood for Sri Lanka at international fora. We will continue to do so in shoulder to shoulder with Sri Lanka. This was emphasized by Maldivian President Abdullah Yameen Abdul Gayoom. The Maldivian president laid this emphasis joining in an official discussion with President Rajapaksa and his delegation. The talks were held at the president's office in Malé. The Maldivian leader said that their countries have been subjected to harassment and too much foreign intervention. This should stop. He said that they should stand together in this respect. We see that Maldives progressing ahead with a new vigor. Maldives' role in SAARC is commendable. President Rajapaksa thanked Maldives for supporting Sri Lanka at international fora. President Rajapaksa pointed out that friendship and cooperation among South Asian countries will not only benefit the countries in the region, but also it helps world's peace and stability. He said they should speak in same voice at a common platform. President Rajapaksa identified certain areas of cooperation, including the development of hospital service in Maldives, education, scholarships, youth development, sports, vocational training, culture, crime prevention, security and military training. The Maldivian leader said they experience a huge shortage of doctors and the lack of specialists was a big problem. As such, he sought help from President Rajapaksa, who readily agreed to it. It was revealed at this meeting that the pension issue of Sri Lankan migrant workers in Maldives had been sorted out. The discussion was joined by many parliamentarians of both countries. Meanwhile, Maldivian President Abdullah Yameen Abdul Gayoom and First Lady Fatima Ibrahim hosted a banquet last night in honor of President Rajapaksa and First Lady Shirante Vikramasinghe Rajapaksa and their entourage. The banquet was hosted at the tourist resort of the Kurumba Islands. It was attended by a distinguished gathering from both countries. Maldivian songs and dances added color to the event. Now, Sri Lanka and the Maldives have signed 3 important agreements, including health and investment. The inking of the 3 bilateral cooperation agreements between the Maldives and Sri Lanka took place at the President's office in Malé in the presence of President Rajapaksa and the President of the Maldives, Abdullah Yameen Abdul Gayoom. A memorandum of understanding on health cooperation was signed by Minister Professor G.L. Peiris on behalf of Sri Lanka, while Maldivian Minister of Health, Dr. Mariam Shakila, inked the agreement on behalf of the Maldives. It paves the way for special exchange of trained staff in the health sector and the provision of advisory services. MOU on strengthening cooperation between Board of Investment of Sri Lanka and Ministry of Economic Development of Maldives was signed by Maldivian Minister of Economic Development Mohammed Saeed and Minister of External Affairs Professor G.L. Peiris. Arrangement on search and rescue was also signed between Sri Lanka and the Maldives. It was inked by Minister Professor Peiris and the Maldivian Minister of Foreign Affairs Dunya Maumoon. In the meantime, long-time former President of Maldives, Maumoon Abdul Gayoom, called on President Rajapaksa, who is on a state visit to the island, at the President's office in Malé yesterday. During the friendly and the cordial discussion, two veteran leaders exchanged views on a number of matters of mutual interest. While appreciating each country's support and the assistance to the other, they expressed satisfaction over continuous bilateral relations. Former President Gayoom said that Sri Lanka is their closest friend. They have been living and working as good neighbors for a long time. He said he hoped that this relationship will continue. Both leaders noted that undue influences by big powers continue to persist. They observed that money plays a major role in this exercise. Ministers Professor G.L. Peiris and S.V. Dissanayake, Monitoring MP Sajin Divas Gunawardena, President Secretary Lalit Weeratunga and Foreign Secretary Kshenuka Seneviratne were present at this meeting. Now, the first program on religious coexistence and reconciliation based on trust has been successfully held. The program on religious coexistence and reconciliation based on trust was organized with the intention of creating confidence in every community living in Sri Lanka sans any communal, religious, caste or color differences through unity and coexistence. The first in the series of programs organized on a concept of President of the Tarunya Hetak Organization and Parliamentarian Namal Rajapaksa was held at the Magam Ruhunupura International Conference Centre today. It was held under the guidance of the Tarunya Hetak Organization and the Hambantota District National and Religious Collective. In addition to religious leaders across the spectrum, young men and women of all communities joined in this program. The Buddhist sermon was delivered by the Anunayaka of the Malwatta chapter, the Venerable Dr. Niyangoda Vijitasiri Thera. The Hindu sermon was delivered by Kurukal Brahma Shri S. Gunananda Sharma. The Hambantota District President of the All Ceylon Jamiatul Ulama Organization and Secretary of All Ceylon Youth Federation, Maulavi Ashik Arektum Nur Amin, delivered a sermon on behalf of the Islam religion. The Christian sermon was delivered by Reverend Father Dr. Kurukula Surya of the Colombo Archdiocese. Cultural events representing various communities were also staged. Independent Television Network was the media sponsor of this program. You're watching Prime TV News at 6:30. In more local news, 46 Indian fishermen who were in Sri Lankan custody have been released. These Indian fishermen from Rameshwaram and Pudukkottai had strayed into Sri Lankan waters from 11 boats. As a result, they were apprehended by the Sri Lankan Navy. These Indian fishermen were detained in the Jaffna prison following court orders. They were produced in the Kites and Mannar courts yesterday. These 46 fishermen were ordered to be handed over to the Indian Navy. The ruling on the seizure of the boats from these fishermen are due to be given tomorrow. Now, today is the 8th death anniversary of Lieutenant General Parami Kulatunga, who was killed in a brutal LTT terrorist bomb attack.
Born in the year 1951, Parami Kulatunga had his academic studies at Trinity College, Kandy. He joined the Sri Lanka Army on 20th July 1971 and was appointed as second lieutenant after his basic training. Parami Kulatunga, while holding many senior portfolios in the Sri Lanka Army, including the 22nd Brigade Commander of the Sri Lanka Army, rendered yeoman service, fulfilling his responsibilities on behalf of the unity of the motherland and eliminating terrorism. Ranasura, Vishishta Seva Bhushana, Uttama Seva and Deshaputra are the main military decorations he had received. He represented Sri Lanka at many defence seminars abroad, discharging the valuable task of portraying the brutality of LTT terrorism to the world. the significant task discharged by Parami Kulathunga in the liberation of the Jaffna Peninsula from the LTT terrorists during his 35 years of service was an indelible mark registered in the history of the Sri Lanka Army. Parami Kulathunga was killed in an LTT suicide attack at Pannipitiya in the year 2006 while he was holding the third highest post in the Sri Lanka Army. He will be remembered as a man with a heart by his peers and a grateful nation for the major roles he played in liberating the country from the terrorists. The country would have been deprived of more loyalists if the ruthless terrorists were not routed from the motherland following the unflinching leadership of Commander-in-Chief President Rajapaksa.
On the same note, no one can forget the priceless services discharged by the war heroes to enthrone genuine freedom in the country, vanquishing terrorism. United National Party parliamentarian Mangala Samaravira has got involved in committing the mortal sin of a mass betrayal of such valiant soldiers. This directly amounts to fulfilling the needs of the Tamil diaspora, which supports the Tiger terrorists. The outstanding services discharged behind the scenes by the intelligence officers with self-sacrifices to the priceless tasks of the heroic soldiers to bring to a halt the cruel war are countless. The intelligence sleuths are operating round the clock to safeguard the country, sans any political involvement. Their dedications are a gift to the country. It was not only today that the United National Party betrayed such heroic soldiers. UNP authorities disclosed not only to the country but also to the world about the Millennium City quarters when the ruthless war was battering the country. Can anyone forget the history of the killing of the intelligence officers by the Tiger terrorists as a result of this Millennium City revelation by the UNP? The UNP has such a history. Isn't it the revelation of names of intelligence officers who are dedicated to protect the country even today, another mass betrayal and going against the country? What the UNP parliamentarian Mangala Samaravira is now engaged in is fulfilling the objectives of the Tamil diaspora for the resuscitation of the LTT terrorism in the country.
බොදුබල සේනා නැමැති ත්‍රස්ත කණ්ඩායම පිටිපස්සේ ඉන්නේ රාජ්‍ය ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශය කියලා. ඒක මම පැහැදිලිවම කිව්වා විතරක් නෙමෙයි අපි පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේදීත් තොරතුරු එළි දරව් කරලා කිව්වා මේ සංවිධානයට රාජ්‍ය ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශයේ යටතේ තියෙන රහස් ගිණුමේ මුදල් ලැබෙනවායි කියලා. ඒ අනුව මේ බොදු බල කියන ට්‍රස්ට් කණ්ඩායමට මේ රටේ ඉහළම පුද්ගලයන්ගේ අනුග්‍රහය තියෙනවායි කියලා.
Also, isn't it the opinion of the entire United National Party that is being portrayed in the statements made by Mangala Samaravira? When the great war heroes, after ending the cruel terrorism which plagued the country for 30 years, captured Thopigala, UNP leader Ranil Wickramasinghe could not bear it. As such, he saw this location as a forest area.
තොප්පිගල කියන්නේ විශාල වනයක්. වර්ග කිලෝමීටර් 700ක් විතර තියෙනවා. මොන කොළඹ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයට වඩා විශාලයි.
Following suit, UNP parliamentarian Rakshman Kirialla claimed that any bull could wage war, belittling the victories achieved by the war heroes.
යුද්ධ කරන්න ඕන ගොනෙකුට පුළුවන්. අවි පිටරලින් සල්ලි අරන් අවි ආයුධ ගන්න එක තරම් අමාරු දෙයක් නෙමෙයි.
It was also the same with another Tiger loyalist, UNP parliamentarian Ravi Karunanayaka. He too could not bear the triumph of the war heroes. He too undermined their victories.
බොරුව කරන්න එපා. මෙතන තියෙන්නේ යුද්ධේ ඔය අය යුද්ධයක් කරන්න කියලා අලිමංකඩ යනවා කියලා පාමංකඩ යන්නේ. ඔබතුමාලා මේ කිලිනොච්චි යනවා කියලා මැදවච්චි යන්නේ. මේකයි වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. මේ ප්‍රශ්න තුලින් තමයි අපි ගමන් කරන්න අවශ්‍ය වන්නේ. දැන් එක වෙලාවක් පපුවට ගහනවා මෙන්න අපි කිලිරොච්චේ කියලා. අනිත්තට ඔළුවට ගහගෙන මෙහෙ ගියාගෙන. ඉතින් මේවා කියාගෙන ගිහිල්ලා අන්තිම යුද්ධ විකුණගෙන විතරයි යන්නේ.
It is not a surprise for the country the efforts made by the UNP, which has such a history of betraying the intelligence officers who are totally dedicated to safeguarding the country. We are ready to unconditionally reveal to the country about the massive betrayal being made by Mangala Samaravira, who joined the United National Party, collaborating with the non-governmental organizations against the country, and also the Tamil diaspora loyal to the Tigers. Mangala Samaravira is well known to be a character which is against the country in the past as well as in the present. We are ready to reveal more information about him in the future. Many assumed that the LTT was indomitable, but the war heroes succeeded in routing the outfit due to their bravery and courage. The flames of terrorism would have burnt the entire country, causing astronomical damage if this scourge was not eliminated root and branch. The Tiger terrorists lurking in the Vaunia area mooted an attack targeting war heroes on 26 June 1990, killing 5 soldiers. Again, the ruthless terrorists lying in ambush unleashed a heinous assault on 26 June 1992, targeting the war heroes. As a result, 6 war heroes made supreme sacrifices on behalf of the unity of the country. The terrorists, who were reeling from successive defeats, stormed into the Kayankani area on 26 June 1995, aiming for another brutal assault. They opened fire at a group of war heroes and thus took away the valuable lives of 5 brave soldiers. 2 more war heroes who were according security to civilians in the Mannar area were killed by the Tiger terrorists on 26 June 1996. In the year 1997, on a day like today, several terrorist attacks were mooted at the war heroes within the Vaunia and Mantottam areas. The terrorists killed 7 war heroes in these assaults. The next target of the terrorists was Vaunia. In this assault, unleashed on 26 June 1998, the terrorists took away the lives of 4 war heroes. On 26 June 1999, another gruesome assault was mooted by the Tiger terrorists, targeting a group of war heroes who had joined the Ranagos operation. 24 valiant soldiers gave up their valuable lives in this attack on behalf of the unity of the motherland. In the year 2000, on a day like today, the terrorists took away the lives of 4 more war heroes, mooting a ruthless attack in the Chavakacheri area. On 26 June 2008, 2 brave soldiers had to sacrifice their lives on behalf of the motherland, following an attack mooted at Janakapura in the Valio area. Terrorism which plagued the country in this manner, causing massive destruction and shedding blood, was brought to an end from the Nandikada lagoon, enthroning enduring peace. By then, the terrorists had taken away a total of 67 lives on 26 June throughout the fierce psychosis period. It included 2 civilians. The other 65 were members of the security forces who battled and gave up their lives on behalf of the unity of the motherland. The Commander-in-Chief, President Rajapaksa, succeeded in defeating militarily the ruthless terrorist outfit which was assumed by the world as indomitable and proving that there was no room for resurgence of terrorism. Forces advancing in the humanitarian operations under the prudent guidance of Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa and succeeded in ending the coerciveness of the terrorists, enthroning genuine freedom in the country and providing a fitting lesson to the entire world. Even after achieving this magnanimous victory, unprecedented across the globe, the President succeeded in providing another. Usually it is the tradition of countries to compensate a soldier who waged a war and send him home. But President Rajapaksa deviated from this tradition, giving another superb lesson to the world. The President and the current government have taken necessary initiatives to inject new life to the war heroes who were rendered totally disabled on behalf of the nation. This program is being mooted on a concept of Defence Secretary Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Yesterday's war hero is a heroic soldier to date. As such, the people's leader has succeeded in looking after them for sacrificing their eyes, hands and limbs, as a result of which all communities are now enjoying unbridled freedom. As the Family Channel, we always repeat this fervent appeal to the nation in this dark era episode not to forget these heroic soldiers who sacrificed their lives on behalf of the motherland. People are different, so as their lifestyles. Bringing you the beauty of those differences is diversity.
An Arabian sheikh's personal safari park has been turned into a luxury holiday resort complete with cheetahs and giraffes. The idea was to turn Sir Yas Bania's island in the United Arab Emirates into an Arabian ark in the desert. With its vast plains dotted with gazelles, blackbuck, ostriches and giraffes, it looks like an African safari park. But this is Arabia, not Africa. 50 years ago, this 87 square kilometer island was a barren, rocky outcrop consisting only of salt mounds and scrub. The former ruler of the United Arab Emirates turned this island of Abu Dhabi into a wildlife sanctuary complete with more than 1 million trees and 12,000 animals.
And coming up next is Prime World.
Come hop on board with us on a voyage around the globe. I'm Tarkana Kulutunga and you are watching Prime World.
Accidental shootings have taken the lives of at least 100 children across the United States in the year following Newtown, Connecticut's Sandy Hook Elementary School tragedy. According to a study conducted by the gun control advocacy group Everytown for Gun Safety, unintentional shootings have been responsible for about 2 child deaths every week since the December 2012 tragedy. The report found 73% of the deaths were at the hands of a minor, defined as someone 14 years or younger, who in many cases was playing with a firearm. Thousands of Christians fled their homes and waited at a checkpoint near the Iraqi city of Erbil, attempting to seek sanctuary in Kurdish-controlled territory after Sunni insurgents attacked several Christian villages. But while internally displaced people waited to cross the checkpoint to get into the Kurdish-controlled territory, Peshmerga soldiers drove out in the opposite direction on their way to counter the threat from the Islamic State of Iraq and the Levant. The Iraqi government is struggling to repel advances led by ISIL militants, a well-trained and mobile force thought to have some 10,000 fighters inside the country. An explosion has hit a crowded shopping center in Nigeria's capital Abuja, killing at least 21 people and wounding dozens of others. The blast hit Imam Plaza just as people were getting ready to watch Nigeria play Argentina in the World Cup on the many TV sets for sale inside. Parts of the building and many cars parked outside were completely destroyed by the impact of the explosion. It was not clear what caused the blast, but suspicion fell on the armed group Boko Haram, which has attacked Abuja twice in the last 10 weeks. A car bombing in April killed 75 people at the Nyanya bus terminal on the city's outskirts, and a similar bombing at the same spot on 1st of May left 19 people dead. Ruff Simmons looked east for spring-summer with yet another strong and inventive menswear collection, mixing contrasting street styles with Japanese vestmentary codes. At the runway show in Paris, models with wispy Asiatic fringes and brightly colored sneakers sported long jackets in sanitized white, navy and black with shawl collar lapels that borrowed from the traditional kimono. As the collection advanced, buttons at the waist nodded to Japanese belted fastenings, while a couple of models had skin-tight sweaters whose patterned sleeves made the models look like they had Japanese-style tattoos.
And that brings an end to our journey around the world. Thank you for watching. Do join us tomorrow for more of the very latest.
And with that, we wind up this edition of Prime TV News. For more of the very latest information, do log on to www.itnnews.lk. It's me, Arshad Najudeen, with the entire Prime TV News crew signing off. Have a very good night.